Cool. So should we do character gen? We have got. So what I usually like to do with PBTA is get people to read out the blurb from like a couple of playbooks each. So the first one is Cancer, and it says, "This fleet and the people in it matter to you. It's more than just a mission to you, more than saving the human race even. Your friends, your colleagues, your people, nothing matters more. And because that love shines through in your words and deeds, they look up to you too."
Virgo. Doing this job is an awesome responsibility. If you fall short, it could mean the end of everything. You take that responsibility seriously. You need to be the best, to be perfect. Sometimes that means neglecting anything outside the job, but that's a sacrifice you're happy to make.
Aries. You're a creature of passion. Whether it's work or play, you throw yourself into it with a lack of restraint that can often get you into trouble. You'll go where angels fear to tread. Oh, there's those angels again. And cross lines that others balk at.
Okay, then we have the Taurus. Selfless, principled, and tough as nails. You're willing to put yourself in harm's way to protect others or to do what's right. Let the enemy dish out whatever punishment they like. You can take it. Let those of lesser beliefs try to knock you off course. You're unstoppable.
Then we have Capricorn. There is so much at stake in this war. If you hold back or show weakness, that could be the end of everything. You'll do what needs to be done, no matter the cost. Some say your way is ruthless or dangerous. You know that what's truly dangerous is taking half measures.
Gemini. The war is important, sure, but that doesn't mean it's the only priority. You got your own agenda, even if it's just as simple as looking after number one. Sometimes you've done things that others might consider dubious, but nobody's perfect, right? You'll do what you must. You'll do what you must to protect your interests, like anyone else would.
Bruh. The enemy can destroy us from the outside, but holding them off is no good if the fleet tears itself apart. To stop that happening, it needs people like you. You're a skilled politician and leader. You know what needs to be done and what people need to hear to keep the fleet together. That's exactly what you'll do.
And then Scorpio. Something's wrong. Maybe you woke up from a bad dream only to find that the things you did weren't a fantasy at all. Maybe you feel a strange fascination for the enemy. You're not sure who you really are or if you can trust yourself. Luckily, you're good at hiding it. If anyone else suspected, it would land you in the brig or the airlock.
Yeah, and a warning for that one. I think it's the only one that comes with a mandatory move, which is the sleeper agent move. So if you take that, you will be at war with yourself. And I think the final one is Aquarius. You're as sharp as they come. You see through the lies and deceit that riddle the fleet, and you'll expose them all. Maybe you're an official interrogator, or perhaps you're a journalist. You know how to get to the truth through your connections or through asking the right questions. Has anyone got strong preference now? Something that you're interested in taking from that list?
Well, I was thinking of playing as an imposter, but not as a sleeper agent. Like uh, like someone who had some kind of access to, let's say, a dead soldier's identity, and he stole this identity and he got on the ship.
So
But I'm not really sure which one is the best.
You might want to take a look at Gemini. Gemini is designed to be someone who's got some sort of hidden agenda, and it includes a move called Compromised, which is that you've done something that could get you into trouble. So you're not a sleeper agent, but you are someone who's got some dirt in their past. So Nick, Jim, what about you? Any particular playbook leaping out?
I had a couple of options that jumped out. I think one of them might actually now not be on the list. The two playbooks that jumped out first at me were the Scorpio, who's the sleeper agent basically. But I think maybe it's worth taking that one off the table with Avaz's idea. The other one was a Taurus. I like the look of the playbook, and I thought maybe I thought a way to take that might be one of the Marines from the the one of the centurions, who's responsible for looking after the Seekers. So a sort of a kind of bodyguard role that's living at the intersection between those two organizations. Maybe Jim? Do you have some thoughts that might?
You know what I can be? I'll be the Libra.
Okay, that sounds great to me. So the other thing I should have mentioned, in case people didn't know about it, is that there are role moves in this game. So although you've got the moves that are listed on each playbook, you also have the option to pick a role move. So your role move would be either engineer, officer, or pilot, or you can just not pick one, in which case you're a civilian of some kind. You get 3 moves to choose. So if you've chosen a role move, you'll have 2 from your playbook. If you haven't chosen a role move, you get 3. I was also going to just give a rundown of what the stats do, if that's helpful.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'll just go through them in order. You've got raw. Raw is good for letting loose, which is like your kind of hedonistic pressure dispersal mechanism that usually gets you into trouble as it reduces your pressure. And also for the 2 moves strike and hold off, which are for attacking and defending in combat respectively. They are battle moves, they're not for just slapping each other around. Then you've got hard. Hard is used for calling people on their shit, which is the kind of social pressure move in this game. If you want to get someone to do something, you generally call them on their shit, and then tell them what they'd have to do to get you to lay off. And then the 2 moves shake off and weather serious harm, which are kind of about coping with external problems. So shake off is for kind of just generically dealing with a difficult situation, like you've got a fighter on your tail, or you're stuck in a bay that's on fire or whatever, trying to shake it off. And weather serious harm is for only for when you have taken a hit, and see how badly it affects you. So that's raw and hard. Then you have sharp. Sharp is used for seek out, which is kind of the investigation move in this game. It's quite important, especially given the amount of skullduggery we're expecting in this one. And then it's also used to interfere. So if you're going to try and block someone else's move, then you use sharp. Then you have warm. Warm is used for reaching out. Reaching out is the other main pressure dispersal move in the game, apart from let loose. It's the nice version, where you reach out and make an emotional connection with someone rather than going and getting high or whatever, as you would with let loose. And it tends to have less terrible consequences. But what it does do, I'll just mention, if you kind of choose reach out as your main way of dispersing pressure, you tend to build up relationships that matter to you. That's can have some mechanical benefits, but it also means that if the person dies, all of the pressure that you had erased by making nice with them suddenly comes back with a vengeance. And then the other move which comes from warm is support. So if you're trying to help somebody else to do something, you use warm. The final stat is smooth. Smooth is used for cover up, which is for really significant lies, not little white lies, and it is used for call for aid. A call for aid is the move you use if you're asking a faction to help you with something. I'll just briefly note that call for aid, as you make better and better friends with a faction, you'll get a kind of faction loyalty rating with them. And once that gets higher than your smooth, you'll use that instead of smooth. So smooth's good for kind of if you want to be able to be friends with everybody. If you don't have a good smooth, you can still potentially make friends with an individual faction, get a good loyalty with them, and stick to one group. And similarly, with interfere and support, both of those, you can use your relationship rating with a character in place of the stat if it's better. You don't really need to worry about that. So hopefully that will help you to choose kind of where you want your stats, you're going to have one stat at +1, one at -1, and the rest at 0. And you're going to choose 3 moves, which could include a roll move.
Sort of talk through my thinking process a little bit. I picked the Taurus, and I think I am going to go the route the one of the Centurion Marines, but nominally assigned to looking after the Seekers. So my toss up here is between putting the +1 in hard or in sharp. Hard is the obvious one, I think, for a Taurus, which is maybe why I also like sharp as an option. And there, what I'm thinking of is that the way I look after the Seekers is by getting in the way, interfering, making sure that I know the lay of the land, the seek out option. Those are my thoughts. Anyone have any input? I can just pick one if nobody does.
Everyone's just turned into a cat, which is cool.
And I guess the other question is, what would they value in someone who works for them? Like, is it more important to them that you're smart and can anticipate what they want, or that you're a hard ass and can physically, act as like muscle for them that they don't otherwise have?
Yeah. So part of what I'm picturing here is that I maybe am doing to the Seekers what the Seekers are doing to us. Like, they're my kids, which is probably maybe also how they think about everybody who's not theirs, who's not one of them. Yeah, which is why I was thinking about interfering and about being sharp. Like, I'm trying to keep my eyes open to look after my kids.
I chose Gemini, by the way. And
Cool.
I put +1 to smooth, -1 to warm, and the rest is, completely 0. The moves are compromise, charismatic, and officer. So basically, I was imagining that this character was like some sort of a identity thief, and the original officer got in debt with him, and he got really drunk, and this guy stole his identity through, I don't know, some sort of internet or something like that, and he got onto the ship to secure his hard-earned cash or valuables. And as he strolled along that ship, the attack happened, and he got stranded on the ship. And by pure luck, this officer, the officer in question, was completely a new one to the whole ship. So nobody knew him at the beginning. So he's going for this ride along.
Sounds great. Just so you know, your character sounds like, though they are occupying the position of an officer, they don't have officers training. So if you want that to be the case, I don't really see a problem with you saying, I am an officer, but I don't have the officer role move, if you would prefer. The officer role move, basically what it does is it allows you to do things like yell orders in the middle of a big battle or what have you, to help other people. So if you would like to be like effective as an officer, then by all means take it. But if you want to be someone who's secretly crap at being an officer, then go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it can be like an officer who doesn't have a first degree or even a second degree importance in a battle situation, like something from logistics or communication or cleanup. Like, it's completely in a completely like unassuming position. So maybe, yeah, you're right. I should delete that officer line and choose something else.
Yeah, it was totally up to you. You might be a natural. Without the training, that would be fine too.
Okay. In that case, I will take. Let's see. I will take playing both sides.
Cool.
But the first three ones.
Which ship are you an officer on board?
Oh, the dreadnought.
The dreadnought. Okay, not the colony ship. That was the other option I thought you might choose.
No, the colony. Yeah.
Are you? I wondered if you might want to be like the liaison officer with the colony ship.
Oh. Like the communications officer or something like that, or the how can I say, the delegates that goes around, like the embassy kind of thing.
Yeah, like that's kind of what I was wondering, if you've got these two ships and they've got slightly separate hierarchies, you might have someone who acts as a go-between sometimes, like you say, like an ambassador, kind of.
Okay, that will work.
That would give you an excuse to move back and forth between the two ships as well, which could be interesting.
Okay, I've got a little bit of progress. I've taken the "you'll have to go through me" move, which I think makes sense if my job is keeping the Seekers alive. Yeah, and I think I'm going to take an officer move because I want to see how it works in play. But I think there's a caveat attached, which is that so I'm imagining that means that I'm an officer in the Colonial Marines. I don't have any sway with the battleship. So I'm not going to be using the battleship's ordnance. Not that part of the officer rule. Or maybe I am by shouting at someone, but I just wanted to flag that up. There's an officer in the Colonial Marines, not on the battleship.
Yeah, so that's cool. And I think we probably just want to say that the colony ship has some sort of command center that you can view the battlefield on. Otherwise, you'll be limited in what you can do with that move.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That sounds good to me. I mean, it always had its own CIC because it was gonna.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm imagining that it also has its own fighter launch base. Like probably quite a small number of fighters, but in theory, it can launch its own fighters.
I'm on board with it having its own fighters. I think maybe I'd like it if because it's in the hangar of the battleship, its fighters are forced into a position where they're having to use the same resources as the battleship to launch. So
yeah,
they're sharing the flight deck with the crew from the battleship.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think like in theory, if the colony ship were to somehow end up not in the belly of the dreadnought, then they could launch direct, but obviously you can't launch out into the cargo bay. It just doesn't work.
Yep, sounds good to me. Now I just need to pick a third.
All right, so I am going to be the woman who is basically the head, like the head mechanic for the Union. So like I'm in charge of like basically the garage, right? And procuring parts and fixing ships when they get busted up and making sure that like everything is just working like it's supposed to. And I don't know whether that means that we've got like I feel like that means like that basically I've got a ship that is essentially the AAA truck, right? That kind of flies around. Sorry, you know what? AAA, that might not mean. So the Automobile Club, the Automobile Association of America is a thing in the United States where you become a member and then they will like give you roadside assistance if you ever need it. Like if your car breaks down in the middle of Oklahoma or something like that, you call AAA and they will send a truck out with a spare tire or to jump your battery or whatever. And so like I imagine that like my ship is the the kind of roving repair slash garage slash, but it's probably like maybe like the second biggest ship in the fleet, right?
Yeah, it's going to need space to
Yeah,
put
that
things
can
in its.
it's got a hangar bay of its own, and like a bunch of umbilicals where we can attach to other ships and stuff like that and everything. But it's like certainly not a hangar bay that you could like launch fighters out of or anything like that, right? We don't have any like fancy force fields or any crap like that. You got to depressurize it when you bring a ship in, and figure out how you're gonna lock it up because it's all different sizes and stuff like that. But that she is like she is basically the person who is in charge of keeping the keeping the trucks working is what I want to have her be. So I am going to take the deck crew engineering move.
Yep.
Is one thing that
Oh
I'm
yeah,
going
it's
to do.
called deck crew. It is not called
Yeah.
engineer. I made that up.
You
I know
gain
my own game.
Well, the deck crew role move means I gain access to the work and engineering job move.
Yeah.
Which I'm totally going to do. And I have +1 warm. Everyone likes me. I love being a mechanic, in that kind of like cars or whatever, like, spacecraft are fascinating, and holy shit, you won't believe that I pulled a Framostat off of that oil tanker and put it onto this ore hauler, and it totally worked. I wasn't sure. We weren't sure till we launched it, but it's awesome. Like that kind of thing. And I have a bunch of crew that and I have crew that work their asses off. And we understand absolutely and completely that we are what keep this whole operation going. And that if we weren't around to do to just be, asses and elbows, that all of these flyboys and the fighter jocks and stuff like this, they wouldn't know what to do with themselves if we weren't delivering fuel and parts and stuff. So all right.
And so
And
do
I
you
think,
deliver fuel and parts to the dreadnought as well as the rest of the fleet, right?
yeah, because I mean we're hauling and stuff like this. So I mean, I think one of the things we would have to do is jump somewhere, like mine a bunch of asteroids as fast as we fucking can, or whatever, or and I imagine another thing that we're almost certainly doing is we have a great big fleet that we keep flying, but some significant percentage of those ships, maybe double-digit percentage, we are in there, we have crews in there with acetylene torches and laser cutters, like taking them apart and pulling the guts out for raw materials. It's basically we are essentially pulling up the planks on the ship, to throw in the whatever to keep the stove going so we don't freeze to death, right?
So you're gradually cannibalizing the fleet.
Oh yeah, and so one of the fun challenges is how much can we rip this thing apart and still keep it flying? We want to leave as little of this as behind when we jump as absolutely possible. So it's got to keep flying and be able to stick with the fleet and stuff when we jump, so that we can rip as much of the guts out of it as we can. I kind of like that we're essentially mining bits of the fleet, as we progress here, hoping to get somewhere where we can, actually have some actual resources, so that we're not, I kind of like the idea that the fleet itself is kind of slowly starving as we are trying to get to somewhere where we can fuel back up again. And I am going to take what am I going to take? I'm going to take a special task when you personally give someone a special job or mission. Well, actually, what am I going to do? Oh, no, fireside chat. When you call for aid or call someone on their shit, by talking to an individual one-on-one, treating them like an equal, you roll plus warm instead of the usual stat. I'm a big fan of stat substitution moves. I really like that. So I got that. And the other thing, the other move. So since I took a crew move, I get 2 other moves, right?
That's correct, yeah. Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
So I was expecting you to immediately say high stakes. The reason I thought you were going to do that is because that is kind of the try to fix something that's wrong with the fleet move.
Yeah, and that's the other one that I like. I was looking over some of the others, and I think that's the other one that I'm going to take, because that has the look of a you get high stakes plus 1 other move, that maybe this playbook ought to have or something like that. But
yeah, it could be mandatory, couldn't it?
Yeah, high stakes is the other one that I'll take, because that is like fireside chat's a very clearly an interpersonal one, and high stakes is like a macro, like fleet level move. So I'll take both of those, and I've got deck crew.
My character's name is Caleb Pindar, and he is a petty liaison officer.
Nice.
I am Lilia Fasenko. But everyone calls me Lily.
Yeah, I think he's a sergeant. Look, let's just go the whole 9 yards. He's Toby Smith, Sergeant Smith.
Eyebars. The Gemini move. You said you were choosing compromised. So you've done something that could get you into some serious shit. Now, clearly, your fake identity could be that by itself, but is there some reason why you felt the need to cover up your identity? You've got this cache of stuff, right? Is it stolen? Is it?
It's not stolen. I won in a. Let's see. Okay, here's the deal. Basically, this man and the original petty officer were just having a game of cards, and that got involved in a serious situation. So probably this man killed the original petty officer and stole his identity, because this petty officer was really drunk, and he talked how he got rich by stealing the ship's resources little by little, bits and pieces. So he got really greedy. He killed him, and he got onto the ship just to secure the goods, just to secure the merchandise. I believe the original petty officer was conducting some sort of a black market operation, or just doing illegal card games, gambling, and he got some valuable cash, small jewelry, rings and necklaces, stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So you've effectively killed this guy, taken his stuff, and also his life.
Yeah.
Great. What's your real name?
Do I have to give one?
I think you should come up with one just in case, because that's who you really are, right?
I just want to make super clear about the fact that we have created so we've got a situation here now where we have player knowledge that if it becomes character knowledge, I mean, is basically I feel like murdering someone and taking their identity is a thing that just ends it. We can't, if we find that out, I don't know where we go from there. And I
Ah,
mean,
of course.
and there may be, I mean, and there may be some ways that we can do that, but I'm always very wary of, I have this deep, dark thing in my background that if you find it out is completely unacceptable to everybody involved. I'm not sure what we do with that.
Cool. Well, I mean, that's the concept for the playbook, really. So
Okay.
I think we'll just have to maybe we can play with the pacing and just be careful. You know, if I end up making any moves around that, not
Yeah.
to
So yeah,
blow it
I
too
feel
quick.
like, yeah, that's just a thing that we want to make sure that we're having meta level conversations about. Because it is that, like, it's that kind of character secret where, like I said, I don't know where we go from there once that comes out.
So I mean, I guess the important thing to check that you're cool with that, Ibars, is if you get, you know, there's a possibility you'll get discovered at some point, and you might end up in prison or on the run.
Sure, but it also depends on how it's revealed. Like if I reveal my identity to someone, but if that person who's got some serious debt to me, we're equals. Like I don't blame you, you don't blame me. I don't point a finger at you, you don't point a finger at me, and we're both cool.
And this is it's a layered secret, right? People can find out that you're not Caleb Pindar without finding out that you killed him. So sure. I think there's kind of I think it would be quite good to avoid the final secret coming out until at least the last session, or maybe you know, maybe it could be the end of the second to last session, so that we can have some fun shenanigans around that. But I don't think it's, as long as you're kind of comfortable with the fact that this game could end with you being put out an airlock or something.
Sure. No problem.
Ace. Mikael, do you want to go next?
Sure. I am Mikael. My pronouns are they, them. I'm going to be playing. I just found out my playbook is currently moving, so I was just like, "Oh, where did she go?" But I'm gonna play Lieutenant Rose Vega. She is quite young. I imagine her being in her early 20s, just graduated out of pilot school. She has a long red hair that somehow always, no matter what she does, looks a bit unkempt. And like pretty like fair skin, blue eyes. She is. I'm playing the playbook of the Cancer, and I imagine her being pretty. I mean, she's very. I imagine her. She had like the best grades from the Flight Academy in like a decade or so. But still, I mean, she's young and not very good at standing up for herself always. At least that's something she's struggling with a little bit. Working on it. I'm probably gonna see a growth in that department during the series, I imagine. And generally, sees the best in people. I think probably this is her first assignment. This ship is the first ship she's been piloting. And like generally speaking, of course, I'm not going to say what your characters think of her, but generally speaking, coming into a place, she is someone that would become liked pretty quickly. Although there is already, I'm seeing on the relationships here, there is someone who probably thinks that I'm too soft to do my job probably. So that's gonna be one of the PCs, I'm pretty sure.
I have a quick question, if that's okay, Mikael.
Yeah, sure.
Which ship are you assigned to? Are you on board the Inevitable, or were you with the colony ship?
That's a good question. So that was also a little bit of what I was asking, in which like how our characters are related to this like bigger picture. Mm-hmm. Is there like any? Have we talked about that at all?
Yes, we've touched on it a little. Jim, of course, is with the truckers. we're about to find out but I'm associated with the colony ship, and I think Ibars is the well, the persona he's assumed is the liaison between the two. If I'm remembering correctly, does that sound right?
That's right, but based on the inevitable.
Yep.
So they're the liaison officer to the colony ship from the inevitable.
Well, I have a rank, so I guess I'm on an inevitable.
They're both military, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, so we established that the colony ship has its own fighters and its own launch bays, but it cannot launch fighters because it's inside the inevitable. So if you choose to be a pilot who was on board the colony ship, you are kind of suddenly being stuck amongst the pilots of the inevitable.
Cool. I think that's what I am then, actually. That sounds more interesting to me.
Cool, okay. So I think with that, we've got a pretty clear focus on the colony ship with the inevitable as a kind of background zone around it.